Throughout his career, Harvey Keitel tried to trust amateur directors. He did so with Martin Scorsese first in Mean Streets and later in Taxi Driver, two films which paved the way for a new wave of American cinema. Both are favorites of Tarantino, by the way. But then his career took a dive, beginning with Francis Ford Coppola, who personally threw him out of Apocalypse Now and replaced him with Martin Sheen. And the main fiasco was his part in Saturn III, where he got completely dubbed over.
Yes, you have a great body. May I use it?
Things started to get better just before he agreed to do Reservoir Dogs, thanks to his roles in The Last Temptation of Christ and Thelma and Louise. In short, the decision to act for Tarantino was returning to his roots, working with young directors, and a big risk for a career that had just started to level out.
Is that supposed to be funny?
Of course, his name helped the movie. As soon as the rumor that Keitel was going to be in Reservoir Dogs was confirmed, other stars began to consider the project themselves. That's why in the early stages, Christopher Walken expressed his interest, though later he changed his mind, whereas Chris Penn, Steve Buscemi, and Tim Roth happily joined the project. Also, Samuel L. Jackson auditioned for the role of Holdaway, but Tarantino chose Randy Brooks over him.
This better not be some kind of Freddie joke, man.
That's the story of how an unknown writer with no directing experience got a star-studded cast and $1.5 million. Quentin needed to get some experience before he started shooting. So in June of 1991, he went to the Sundance Festival, which provided dozens of master classes, combining amateur cinematographers with stars of the industry. That's where Quentin and Steve Buscemi filmed a few practice scenes for Reservoir Dogs.
I mean, for all I know is you're the rat. For all I know, you're the rat.
Yeah, all right, now you're using your fucking head. I mean, for all we know,
he's the rat.
Well, he ain't the rat because he took a bullet for me. A rat wouldn't do that.
Hey, look, asshole, man, I'm right, okay? Somebody's a fucking rat.
They showed them to more experienced colleagues who considered Tarantino's style, for lack of a better word, childish. Static shots, the camera lying on the floor, and the lack of varied perspectives caused them to laugh with contempt. The only person who was inspired by the work and gave a lot of helpful advice was Terry Gilliam. As a result, Tarantino thanked him by including Gilliam's name in the credits of the film. The film was shot in the poor suburbs of Los Angeles, but the heart of all the action became a real abandoned funeral home. Hardly anyone notices, but in this scene, for example, Michael Madsen is sitting on a hearse, surrounded by coffins, and the conversation between Harvey Keitel and Steve Buscemi happens in an embalming room.
I don't know what we do.
At that point, it was every man for himself, man.
When all the locations had been found, there was little left to do. After a week of rehearsals on the 29th of July, 1991, they began filming Reservoir Dogs. During the 5-week shooting process was reserved for Tim Roth. He had to lie in a puddle of fake blood for up to 10 hours a day. By the evening, the syrup and dye concoction thickened, and he had to literally be scraped off the floor. At one point, Quentin considered replacing Tim with a doll, but the actor insisted that he would lie there as long as necessary.
I was panicking for a minute back there, but I got my senses back now.
This iconic torture scene was created thanks to Robert Kurtzman, who hadn't forgotten about his promise to help with special effects in exchange for the script From Dusk Till Dawn. While shooting, Quentin realized that he hadn't given Mr. Blue a single line, so he rewrote the opening scene in a diner between takes. As for the discussion, when Quentin's character explains the hidden meaning of Madonna's Like a Virgin, he seriously thought that he had guessed her subliminal message.
You see, the pain is reminding the fuck machine what it was once like to be a virgin. Hence, like a virgin.
After the film came out, he met with Madonna and asked her if he had guessed correctly. She answered no, but that she really liked his interpretation.
I got Madonna's big dick coming out of my left ear, and Toby the Jet, I don't know what, coming out of my right.
During editing, Quentin met Harvey Weinstein for the first time. Their partnership, which was more like a bickering couple, would continue for another 27 years. Back then, Harvey insisted that they cut the torture scene from the film. This argument continued for a while, but the director remained unmoved and continued to demonstrate that no one was going to tell him how to make a movie. As for the scene, he slightly regretted leaving it in, because many would describe the film by saying, you know, that movie where the cop gets his ear cut off. The scene sparked much discussion and was the reason that it wasn't released on cassette in Great Britain, and was viciously attacked by several publications. The newspaper Today stated that the scene should have been cut out, along with every other scene, maintaining that the work was nothing more than violence propaganda.
Kids shouldn't play so rough. Somebody's gonna start crying.
Quentin accepted these attacks with a smile, like Michael Madsen, who used to say that Mr. Blonde was the most positive persona in the movie. I mean, I didn't find Mr. Blonde that bad a guy. I couldn't understand why people cheered when he was shot. I would have thought they'd be sorry to see him go, especially since he got shot by a rat. He didn't bullshit anybody. He just wanted to tell the truth. But Madsen wasn't the only one affected by comments about his role. Steve Buscemi said that after the monologue about tips, he had to tip generously for life. Recently, I forgot to tip a cab driver and I thought, oh my God, if he sees the movie, he's gonna say that's the guy. Mr. Pink's monologue was based on a real time in Tarantino's life, which his friends would often remember with distaste, since first he spent several years telling them about it, and then even immortalized his nonsense on film.
You know what this is? It's the world's smallest violin playing just for the waitresses.
Reservoir Dogs premiered at the Sundance Festival. It received so many glowing reviews there that a month later at Cannes, the film was pegged to be a revelation. Later at the film festival in Toronto, Reservoir Dogs received the prize for Best Film, and Quentin met Robert Rodriguez, who had brought his El Mariachi, which had been filmed for only $7,000. The directors quickly found common ground and became best friends, but more on that later. Meanwhile, Reservoir Dogs was released and made $3 million in the USA. This may seem unimpressive at first, but if you consider that the film was only shown in 26 theaters the first week, this number is more than adequate. In Great Britain, it was shown at 10 theaters and made £100,000 on opening weekend.
Now, the things you gotta remember are the details. It's the details that sell your story.
The picture smoothly gained momentum, and by the beginning of 1993, it was on everybody's lips. Reservoir Dogs was considered to be the best directing debut since the times of Citizen Kane. But there was a downside to all this attention. Quentin was accused multiple times of plagiarism, and while the influence of French New Wave cinema could be read between the lines, the number of similarities with the Hong Kong action movie City on Fire was truly suspicious. Here's what happens in one of the scenes of the film. A gang of robbers with the code names Brother Joe, Brother Chu, Brother Fu, and Brother Nam run after they fail to steal a diamond. The job was ruined because one of the robbers, a psychopath, started shooting. The police were lying in wait, tipped off by Brother Chu, who was undercover for the cops. During the escape, Brother Chu is saved by the more seasoned Brother Fu, who in turn provokes Brother Chu when he unloads 2 cartridges of bullets onto the cop's windshield. Brother Chu kills an innocent witness and is wounded in the stomach. Fu takes him to the meeting point at an abandoned warehouse. Fearing that they were betrayed, he calls in the big boss. The boss declares that Chu is a cop and turns the barrel of his gun on him. Fu reacts because he thinks Chu is innocent, and he gets out his gun too. The next scene finds them in a belligerent standoff. Look familiar?
That's your proof? You don't need proof when you have instinct.
Of course. It's worth mentioning that this is only a 20-minute segment of City on Fire. Although the connection can't be ignored, the style, dialogue, and plot structure of the films are completely different. But of course, this topic was too good for journalists to pass up at press conferences. At the Cannes Film Festival, Tarantino gave the press a clear answer. I love City on Fire, and I have the poster for it framed in my house. It's a great movie. I steal from every movie. I steal from every single movie ever made. I love it. If my work has anything It's that I'm taking this from this and that from that and mixing them together. And if people don't like them, then tough titty. Don't go and see it, all right? I steal from everything. Great artists steal. They don't do homages. Many were not satisfied by this explanation, but Quentin completely unarmed the critics with his candor, which only added to his popularity. Catherine James was receiving calls from every agent, every producer, and every studio representative who were asking for Tarantino's previous screenplays. She sent them the same works which had been lying around the offices for years, unread, despite her having begged them to read them earlier. It's no surprise that right after the release of Reservoir Dogs, they started work on True Romance and Natural Born Killers. But let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Do you like our work? Let us know with your like and comment. Push that subscribe button and share with your friends. If you want to support the project financially, become our sponsor on Patreon or YouTube sponsorship. Thank you.